Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the first session of the iNautilus Convoy. My name is Kurt Gillens, and I am the Vice President of Programs and Communication for the Valpo Chamber, and I will be your MC for the 6 sessions of this seminar. For the next 2 weeks, we will be hearing from some great business professionals and learning from their years of experience and expertise. Greenfire Innovations is presenting this free virtual seminar that will help you catapult our organizations into 2021, which we're all excited about. Programs like this are not possible without the generosity of sponsors. The iNautilus Convoy is sponsored by the Ingenuity Small Business Collaborative. Tom Bialik with the Ingenuity Small Business Collaborative is a fair-minded and approachable advisor with over 3 decades of experience in the corporate and entrepreneurial worlds. Tom's background in the education and pharmaceutical healthcare industries consists of roles in sales, leadership, as well as in training. Thank you so much for your support with this endeavor. Before we begin the session today, I wanted to let you know that following each speaker, there will be question and answer sessions. Since we are operating virtually, please use the chat function and message your questions to me. I'll do my best to get to each and every question, but we are trying to keep to the advertised time. To kick off the session today, we have a special presentation, a keynote address from the mastermind of iNautilus Convoy, Eric Bashinsky. Eric Bashinsky is an entrepreneur, organizational consultant, and author. As Chief Navigation Officer for Greenfire Innovations, he is a business-to-business missionary. His life purpose is helping others, especially small to medium-sized businesses and nonprofit leaders, find and fulfill their purpose, then take their organizations to the next level. The iNautilus methodology he has developed over the last 13 years is designed to provide a visual, progressive, functional system of organizational navigation, strategy plus execution. His expertise in sales training and in business-to-business sales in the financial services industry has given him a unique skill set and perspective. While planning the iNautilus Convoy 2020, Eric is also preparing to release his second book, the prequel to the iNautilus Guide for Organizational Navigation, will reframe the iNautilus methodology for the individual rather than organizations. He is planning to publish before the end of the year. In addition, Eric is a real estate investor, self-publisher, God follower, family man, recreational volleyball player, and even cooks and bakes once in a while. Eric, let's hear what you have to say this morning.
Good morning. So in January of 2020, I had a job at a large company, and I loved my job. I was good at it. I worked with amazing people. My position paid well. I had benefits. I was a remote worker when I started in 2018. So working from home was actually good for me. I liked it. For the first time in my life, I was doing work that was utilizing my talents and skills. I was operating out of my strengths. And then COVID, which doesn't that sound familiar to everyone here? It's fun. I was furloughed for 3 months. And of course, when that started, there was a moment of panic where I, was concerned about my family and future and finances. And but with the unemployment and the federal government's CARES Act and everything, I decided to look at it as an opportunity. And so I worked on some projects that I otherwise wouldn't have time for. So I did a siding project on a rental home, and I wrote my book. But then, towards the end of the furlough, my job went away altogether. We've all had hardships in 2020. It's been a difficult year. People have been sick. Some have even died. Businesses have struggled. Jobs have disappeared. Fear has ruled. But no longer, beginning right now, we're going to look back at 2020 and take a moment to reflect, to think about those hardships, the heartaches, and acknowledge them. We're going to pause and acknowledge those hardships and heartaches. You may be done, You may not. There may be other things that come to mind as we move through this, but now it's time to shift your perspective. We're not going to dwell on 2020. Instead, we're going to start asking what we can learn from these experiences. Never let anything happen to you without taking something from it. A takeaway, a nugget, something to be learned. That is the key to shifting from victim to victor. And this does a lot of things in our minds, in our hearts. First of all, you learn something new. I mean, that's obvious, right? The whole point is we're looking back and trying to learn something from our experiences. So hopefully in doing so, we learn something new. If you're not growing, you're dying. That is a law of nature. Anything that is not growing is dying. And every single experience is an opportunity to learn. So don't miss any of them. It also moves our thinking when we start looking at what we can learn. It moves our thinking from emotion to intellect. Emotions are not bad. They're actually excellent indicators, but they're terrible decision-making tools. And so by moving our thinking into the intellect, it actually helps to remove some of the emotional charge from those events. And so we're able to be a little bit more objective about them. Maybe not entirely, maybe not right away. But as you begin to analyze your past, as we begin to analyze our past, the cognitive brain functions take precedence, and we're able to look at things from a more high-level, logical, intellectual perspective. And why that's important is because that helps you get unstuck. It's easy to get lost in the past, but by actively looking for something you can learn, it moves you mentally back to the present and then into the future. It's good to look back, to reflect and to learn. And everyone gets stuck once in a while, but don't stay stuck. And finally, all of this entire process gives you something for which to be grateful, the silver lining. And without being trite, you find value in the experience, no matter how terrible it was. This changes our attitude from negative to positive. It changes our posture from bitter to grateful, and that is essential for success. So here we are in December of this challenging year, and I'm no longer at the job I loved. Instead, I'm coaching and training leaders. If I was good at my job, then in this endeavor, I'm a rock star. And that's because it utilizes my talents and skills, but also helps me fulfill my life purpose. And as a bonus, I am no longer at the mercy of a big corporation. I have regained control of my destiny and my trajectory, which brings us to the iNautilus Convoy. The iNautilus part is my methodology for strategic planning plus execution. And I'll be talking more about that later on in the Convoy. But why Convoy? A convoy is defined as a group of ships or vehicles traveling together, typically accompanied by armed troops, warships, or other vehicles for protection. So let me break this down into a few components. First of all, helping one another. I mean, we all know the principles of safety in numbers, and there's truth to that. We find comfort just being around other people who are in a similar situation to us. But it's bigger than that, because we actually are here to help each other, to aid and assist. So in a convoy, if one vehicle or one ship breaks down, there are others around to help and to get what is needed to get things moving again. Protection. There's danger in the water, right? There's danger in life. And so some of us are a little bit more geared toward protecting others. My company and what I do, my entire purpose is helping organizations. Most companies have some goal or objective to help others, but some of us, that's our entire purpose. And there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with not selling a product or service, but we complement one another. Some are there to protect, others are there to carry cargo. Maybe some are there to carry people or troops. So every single organization who's here today has a purpose, has a function, has an industry, and we can complement one another. But most importantly, we have a common destination. Now, I realize every single organization and person here has their own destination, their own goal, their own where they're heading. But together, we're all heading into 2021, and we're all doing so, wanting to do so with more power and more purpose. And so in that, we have a common destination. So I want to illustrate this a little more visually. And so we see here a ship on the seas, apparently going somewhere. And I don't know about you, but that feels a little bit isolated to me. Whereas, I don't know about you, but when I see that, I have a little bit of a feeling of relief, a little bit more safe. And that's what I'm talking about. As a convoy, there's safety in numbers, there's protection, there's aid and assisting, and there's complementary action. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about these two variables, these two dynamics. The first on the left, I'm going to call that dead in the water. You can see that it looks like they might be struggling a bit there. And the idea is there are two dynamics that are working in our world right now. If you're dead in the water, that's the left side. Working with others, we have a destination. So let me define these a little bit better. Maybe. There we go. What I'm finding in the world today, in our culture, is that there's a lot of apathy. People are just not caring about what's going on around them, not caring about the people around them. And very similarly, there's a lot of mediocrity, a lot of everything's good enough. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. These and inaction. Inaction is kind of the result of the first two. And unfortunately, all of this leads us to be dead in the water. Dead in the water doesn't necessarily mean you're drowning. It can simply be you're not going anywhere, or you're spinning your wheels, or you think you have a destination, but you don't know how to get there, or maybe you don't know where your destination is. All of this stems out of apathy and mediocrity and inaction. But on the other side of things, it's pretty easy to change to destination because it has an abundance mentality. There's enough to go around for everybody. We can help one another without feeling like when I win, you lose. There is opportunity in trial and in hardship and in difficulty. And having that mentality is on the destination side. And then, of course, action. Taking action is crucial if you're going to actually reach a destination. So we're going to chart a course to 2021. And it's 3 simple steps I'm going to ask everyone to engage in here. First of all, take a step. Second, lean on others. And third, be beyond grateful. And I'm going to talk about each one of these briefly. So take a step. I mean, that sounds obvious, right? But you cannot steer a ship unless it's moving. My daughter, who is going to be 18 in April, and that's crazy enough, when she was 16 and still a new driver, she was driving her car and she was by herself. But the serpentine belt broke on her car. And she's driving along and had to stop because she's having trouble steering. If you've ever driven a car with power steering, when the power steering goes out, it becomes difficult to steer. Not impossible, but difficult. And so she stopped the car. And this was not the first time I'd heard this story from her about this situation. But as she's telling the story, it finally dawned on me. And I asked her, Kate, were you moving when you were trying to steer? Because she said she couldn't turn the wheel. And my daughter's strong. I know she could turn that wheel if she really wanted to. And she says, well, no, I was standing still. I was trying to turn. I said, well, there's your problem. If you had just given the car a little bit of gas, got the car moving, yes, it still would be difficult, but you'd be able to turn that wheel. Because if it's immobile, it can't be steered. I want to talk briefly, because people are going to start getting glazed eyes and everything if I go too deep here, about coefficients of friction. So going back to high school physics and math, there are two coefficients of friction that are important. If you have a box, heavy box on a level plane, and you go to push it, to move it, there is a coefficient of static friction. It is the amount of force you need to get that box moving once it's from standstill. So it's not moving. To get it to moving requires a certain amount of force. That's the coefficient of static friction. The amount of force that's needed to keep it moving once it's already moving is called the coefficient of kinetic friction. The two are never the same. And the coefficient of static friction, the amount of force necessary to start the box moving, is always higher than the amount of force necessary to keep it moving. Another analogy that in this line of thinking is the flywheel. That's the big heavy wheel on an engine that once it's moving, it helps keep the engine running because the momentum is turning and it keeps the engine running. But it's also very difficult to get the flywheel started. My point in all of this is it's always difficult to start, and it's always easier to keep something in motion once it's started. So whatever that is for you, take the first step. If that's starting a business, if that's a project at work, if that's a personal project, if it's writing a book, if it's whatever it is for you, take the first step because the next one will be easier. And if you haven't already done that, then now is the time. Do it now. Leaning on others. So synergy, it's a buzzword, it's been thrown around for years. For those of you who may not really know what it means, it simply means that the sum of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So people working together are going to be able to accomplish more than if each individual person is working on individual projects and then add them all together. And there's a lot of reason for this, but other perspectives. So I may be really, really good at what I do, but even another person in my field who's great at what they do is going to have a different perspective and be able to offer different ideas that maybe I never would have thought of. But there are also complementary skills. So there are things I'm really good at and there are things I am not good at. So if I surround myself with people who fill in those gaps for me, then we all do better because I'm going to fill in some gaps for them as well. And of course, we come back to that whole idea of support, aid, and protection. And I'm going to call that anti-isolation, because if you remember that single ship on the ocean, it was lonely. And we need to, isolation is dangerous. Isolation is damaging. And there's a lot of it in our world right now. And so the final point on leaning on others I want to make is that when you fail to enroll others in your destination, you're actually robbing them. Because if we're supposed to work together, and I can't work with everyone here, there's a lot of people here, and there's more over the next 2 weeks, but if you're supposed to work with me and I'm supposed to work with you, if you don't do so, then you're actually robbing me. And I'm not talking about the money, that's a moot point, but I'm talking about the talents and skills and gifts. If you don't work with me when you're supposed to, then you're robbing me of using my talents and gifts and skills to help you. But you're also robbing me from learning from you, because every single person, when they work together, they learn from each other. And so whether it's me or someone in your life that's a mentor or an advocate that you should be working with or talking to on a regular basis, it's important to do so. And finally, be beyond grateful. So what do I mean by that? Beyond grateful is gratitude plus action. So express your gratitude. It isn't enough to have a heart of gratitude or a mindset of gratitude. You need to express that. Words are important. I'm a huge fan of Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages book. I think it is the single most useful tool in interpersonal relationships. It's very, very simple. It talks about how every individual has one or several love languages, and there are 5 different ones. Words of affirmation is one of those. I'm not a words of affirmation guy, but I'm married to a woman who is a words of affirmation person. And so words are important because you don't know necessarily what the love language is for the people around you. And so words are easy, they're free, and you can offer up encouragement and positivity. And sometimes that's all it takes to help make someone's day better. But even if someone is not a words of encouragement person, maybe that's all you can offer. Maybe you work for a big company and you can't go around buying gifts for people. Maybe finances don't allow it. And you can't, there's ways, maybe you don't have the time to offer acts of service or whatever the situation, you always can use words. So express your gratitude to people who contribute to your destination. In addition, take grateful action. So that's non-words. So what can you do? How can you serve others? How can you gift to others in a way that shows that you're grateful for what they've done and who they are? So that's really what I wanted to focus on today. It's now time to begin. We're going to jump into our featured presenter for the day. So get your notebooks and get your pens. And one thing I want everyone here to do is, as we go through these 6 days, I want everyone to take action. So find one action item from each day, from each presenter, and take action. Don't wait. Don't say someday. Don't say maybe later. Put it on your to-do list and get something done. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you for putting your energy and your time into putting this convoy together for all of us. Moving on to our next speaker, just a note, today and the final session will have a featured speaker and, of course, the opening and closing keynote. Also, don't forget to send me any questions for your featured chat speakers or your featured speakers and send those to me in the chat feature. So moving on to our featured speaker today, Wade Breitsky is the owner of We Create. We Create is a boutique advertising and branding agency that prides itself in having a multidisciplinary, flexible, and collaborative team. They are always thinking expansively, taking aim at accomplishing their clients' big picture goals through the creation of an informed strategy and thoughtful imagery that works with the client's brand's marketing strategy. Wade was recently featured in Forbes, USA Today, and the Chicago Tribune. He has made it his mission to create community around brands, uniquely capturing what is most loved about a destination, product, or service. Wade continues to work with notable entrepreneurs, lifestyle, and luxury brands across the globe. Wade, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Kurt. How are you today?
I'm great.
It's awesome. Hey,
living the dream.
Living the dream. Hey, thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming. Eric, wonderful job. And then, hey, just so you know, I was just telling the guys before the call, I'm a relatively informal guy. So as you guys have questions, I know we have a Q&A section, but feel free to just throw it in the chat and I'll see if I can navigate the world of Zoom. I'm so used to being with people and you know, talking and feeding off that energy and staring at a bunch of names is a little bit different, but I can appreciate it. And as forewarning, if you hear thunder, it's actually not raining. It's my 5-year-old who doesn't know how to walk. All she does is skip. So she's right above me right now. So hey, I'm just going to jump right into things. If you can hear me all right, just type in the chat, just say, hey, what's up? Do me a favor, everybody. Give me some life. Like that. Good morning, guys. Courtney, Eric, Jason, Jeffrey, Sean, Kelly. What is up, my friends? Good to see you guys. Let me share my screen here. All right. And can you see my screen okay? Give me some visuals. All right, cool. All right, guys. Well, my name is Wade. I'm here, local guy from Valpo. Excited to be here. I'm going to run through how I visit brands and what I do when I think about how to bring a brand to life, and it's a lot simpler than you might think, but all it takes is a little bit of mental focus and a little bit of things about aligning your personality, your values, and different things along those lines. So as we get into things, I did want to do a quick intro. This work is not just me, it's my team. I have a really incredible team. Everything we do is in-house. As you look through this work, what happens with a lot of these agencies is we formed ourselves a little bit different because I was a subcontractor making video for a bunch of different people all over the country and doing a multitude of different things. But what I found was I was having a hard time communicating with clients because I had an agency between me and the client. And what we did was we kind of formed my agency a little bit backwards, where we have everybody that you see in this photo are people who work for us full time. They are the people writing the copy. They're the people designing the website. They're the people taking the photos. And you can kind of see this all come to life. As far as what we've been up to, we've done some really cool work for some major brands. Our team has across the country for people like Pepsi and Ben & Jerry's. And of late, we've been really involved in the hospitality industry. And when I say of late, I mean the last 6-7 years, maybe a little bit longer now. I'm dating myself, but we've been really involved in the hospitality industry. And then what did Eric say? And then COVID, right? So one of the biggest things that happened during COVID was the entire hospitality industry shut down. And so we had to do the same thing where it's like, okay, do we let everybody go? Do we furlough anybody? What do we do to keep people engaged, keep people moving? And, we decided that we did everything we could to not fire a single person, to keep our dozen people on staff full time. And the way we did that was I went back to cold calling. And so I said, hey, what does my work relate to? What do we do every day that's really, really part of our DNA? And what we do is a lot of food and beverage work. We took our hospitality and our restaurant work, and I started sending that out to every single person I knew in the food and beverage space. And we started creating imagery for food and beverage products, consumer packaged goods, and other things. Now, it's been a crash course in learning other people's brands throughout this year specifically, because we went from being very focused in hotels and resorts and hospitality, and now we're directing all of our marketing efforts directly to a consumer that is going to be consuming a product. So I learned a lot this year, but the foundational values of what I'm about to talk to you about all reign true and consistent. So just to kind of give you a little background on what we've been up to, this is Wyoming. This is a resort we work for out there. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a brief look at the world that we were living prior to COVID. And then recently we started traveling again, but then it all shut down again. So, for us, it's been an up and down year. But I wanted to just briefly flash a couple visuals of the things that we're up to each and every day. And it was basically images like this that I started sending to people, sending out about 200 cold emails a week to kind of keep everybody on the payroll. And it turns out people were pretty attracted to it. It was a fun ride. Fun is the word I'll use because I'm beyond grateful for 2020 is what I'll say. So starting with this though, as I start with new companies, as you think about your brand, a lot of times what we do is we end up speaking to people rather than with them. And so the foundational belief, as you start looking at your brand and bringing it to life, you need to make sure that your marketing is speaking not to people, but with people. This creates and encourages a long-term authentic relationship between the brand and the people that use them. You can use this personally, or you can use this as you bring it into your everyday work life. Everything that you look at, it's too often that we're speaking to people. And that's why I said, hey, if you got something in the chat, throw it at me. And I don't think I see a chat anymore on my end because I don't really do Zoom. But the idea is you got things, you got to speak with people. And the only way to speak with them is to understand them. And so as we look at engaging a very loyal consumer base, I look at this pyramid that we built, and it starts right here. What is your, am I going to zoom in? Yep, boom. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start with your long-term goal. What is it that you're trying to do? When you think about marketing, if you have a business, if you have something you're starting with, or if you're working for somebody else, what is your long-term goal? A lot of people are saying, hey, I want to build a loyal consumer base. Once I understand that that's my goal, I zoom out a little bit and say, okay, what are the two methods from a marketing perspective? Obviously there's sales, financials, there's other things that you're looking at. But from my perspective, I live in the world of marketing. The first thing I do is I look at my approach. What am I doing to build an emotional connection between the brand and the people that use them? Just like I had mentioned before, what am I doing to speak with them? Is it a digital campaign? What are the methods that I'm thinking? And then the part that I love the most, and what you're going to see, is how do we enhance a brand image? And so establish consistent messaging. How are you bringing out the world that is in your head? How are you letting the world know about that without just speaking to them, but bringing it to life visually? So in the end, this becomes a very cyclical cycle. What is a unique marketing approach? What is the brand image? And then in the end, how does that engage a loyal consumer base? And then how do you learn from that consumer base? How are you engaged with them? One of the most powerful things that was ever told to me was probably about 10 years ago. And they said, the minute you start falling in love with your product more than your consumer is the minute you start going out of business. So the idea is very simple. You need to fall in love with your consumer, because your consumer is going to change. They're going to evolve. And if you don't innovate and you don't think about your product or service alongside that, you'll be dead in the water. That's pretty extreme, but that's how I live my life. Extreme. As far as when we get into building a brand, there are 3 steps that we like to take. The first is determine a strategic vision and a brand story. Where are you going? What's important to you? What's important to the people that you want to market to? And then from there, you see that vision and you say, all right, I'm going to build an emotional connection between the brand and the community that uses it. And then finally, that enhance the brand image side is, how do I continue to bring awesome content to these people? A really cool version of this, a guy on this call, actually, Kurt, hey, I have this idea for the chamber. He calls me and I want to do a video newsletter, right? So he's got this idea. I want to do a video newsletter. And then all of a sudden, every month we're out there creating content for this guy. All we're doing is showing up with the camera. He does all the work. But the idea is, hey, I have this vision of what this can be. I got a thumbs up from Greg. I appreciate that. And then he builds an emotional connection each and every month. And you guys have no idea how hard this guy works. I'm constantly amazed. I'm sure you guys are too when you watch the Valpo newsletter. And then it's consistent over and over and over. And what's been fun about watching that is Kurt has gone from local celebrity to, in my opinion, a chamber celebrity across the country, right? So this guy has actually fulfilled this exact thing. Hey, I'm going to do something. He's not necessarily running his own business, but he is promoting a very specific thing within the context of the Valparaiso Chamber. He's got a vision. He determined the story. I'm going to present this thing in an engaging way so I get more people involved in what I get to do every day. I'm going to build that connection. And then I'm going to consistently bring that message every single month so that people are looking forward to it. They're engaging with it. And now I have a more engaged audience than I've ever had in his tenure at the chamber. So I might be speaking out of turn, but I feel like that's pretty accurate. So as I look at a brand, there are 2 very important things that I think people see the visual side and they're like, oh, they take really pretty pictures, or the video is really cool, or that website looks pretty neat. But the idea is it all stems from these 2 things: pillars and personas. We're going to get into personas here in a moment. But the idea is a pillar is simply a core value. And so, Eric talked about, hey, what are we doing to align each other? What are we doing to do this with integrity? Those are all core values. And as you build your brand, I'm interested, and again, I'm not wonderful at this. Here, chat, boom, I can kind of get right into the chat. So as we go into pillars, I want everybody to write a couple values that they value in the chat. What are a few of your favorite values? I love integrity. What do I stand for? It could be for your business, it could be for you personally. Type it in the chat. What's a pillar? What's a value that you have? Constant integrity, consistent integrity, and constant. Why not? Family first. Honesty and integrity. Fun, honesty. Integrity, you took mine. We could share, Felicity. I'm very caring and sharing here. Integrity, reliability. These are all awesome. So as you look at you're developing your marketing and brand messaging, to me, we always want to choose 3 to 5 pillars that your brand is always going to stand on. And if it's partnership, if it's an abundant mentality, if it's reliability, these are the things that sit at the core and at the foundation of your brand. And as you develop your messaging, you're gonna say, hey, is this really in alignment with engagement? Is it really in alignment with abundance mentality or excellence or as Jason said, fun? You know, to me, if you don't establish your pillars first, it's kind of like trying to hit a target in the middle of the night, you know. And by the way, welcome the sun. I'm starting to see a little bit of daylight here. I'm pretty grateful for that. Beyond grateful for that. So again, pillars are the first thing, but the second thing I want to talk about are personas. Personas are different than pillars. Obviously, personas are who are you talking to? And you know, if you were to write down your clients or the people that you want to talk to most as it pertains to business, type that in the chat. Who are the 2 or 3 targeted people that you're going after every day, or every week, or once a month? What does a consumer profile look like for you guys? Families that need advocates. Beautiful. Brides. Jenny, I know a thing or two about brides as well, my friend. Small business leaders, corporate innovators. These are great. So guys, as we look at this, I'm going to use Jenny's example or Jenny as an example here. Jenny and I go way back. You know, baby Wade was, you know, right out of high school. I started doing some music stuff. I couldn't keep a band together, so I decided to be a DJ. I wasn't very good at music anyway. So Jenny and I actually started in the wedding industry. I started with Jenny in the wedding industry, and I got really familiar with the bridal market, and it's been a very fun and engaging thing. And I've been very fortunate that my entertainment and event company still gets to produce right around 300 events a year now, and beyond me, without me, with an incredible group of people. And Sean, I still have a business card from you. Love that, man. How funny, man. What a small world. So in the end, when I look at a bride, I think about, okay, who is going to be our typical bride? And I don't mean to generalize, because brides come in all different ages and different things, but typically you're looking at hey, I just graduated from college. We're college sweethearts. We're 24 to probably 34 years old. We're excited. We have a lot of energy. And I don't even know where to start. So what do? We have them call Jenny first, and then we'll come in backwards. But the idea is, hey, if I'm thinking about that 24 to 36-year-old, what are their values? So you just said, hey, my value is honesty, integrity. My values are to have fun. My values are this. And I align my the personalities and the personas that we're speaking to with the pillars that I have and the pillars that they have. And now you're able to start aligning messages moving forward. And this is where things start to get fun and exciting. So what people come to me with is, this is the cookie dough brand that we took over earlier this year. Really, really cool group. She was a Shark Tank product, did some really cool things. She came to us with this idea of, hey, my persona are big kids. They're 16 plus. They're starved for reality. They crave connection. This is my audience. Well, to be honest with you, I love this audience, but the truth is, yeah, dude, Eric nailed it. So how specific should we be? Well, let's get to there, right? So what I like to do is I like to choose 5 core consumers. And then I like our team does a really good job of naming them. So this is cookie dough. And you could see, hey, my grandma used to make cookies, and this is how specific we start getting. She's, 70% of the time it's a female, 40% of the time it's 30. She's around 27. Where does she live? What is it about her lifestyle that makes her unique? What are her wants and motivations? And what does she crave? She craves nostalgia, reward, and craving. And so as I start marketing to cookie dough, this is the profile that I look at. Another one I wanted to kind of bring up was Revive Superfoods. This is a Daily Harvest competitor, really, really cool brand. They do smoothies daily to your door. They came to us and then they said, hey, my target audience is anybody from 22 to 46 years old that's into fitness. Now that's a lot of people, okay? So there's a lot of people out there that are, within that 20-year age gap and into fitness. So we started naming them some really fun names, like you can meet Clementine here. She's 32 years old. These are her wants. These are her motivations, and these are her opportunities as far as how we can market to this person. So a pillar, hey, what am I doing to engage myself and what I believe in and what I believe in for my company? But then also persona, what am I engaging in as far as how I'm going to care about somebody else's wants, needs, motivations, and lifestyles. So yes, we're going to get extremely specific. I'm going to choose 4 or 5 that are, and you can name them like if Eric is going to, if I'm a small business guy and Eric is trying to market to me, he says, okay, well, let me just write down Wade to start. Wade is what's important to him. He's got a business. It's growing. It's he's very creative, but he's very all over the place. So maybe he's looking for some structure. What are the things about Wade? And that's where I would make a profile on Wade for Eric to say, hey, Wade's a target guy. Over here we have Kale. You can meet Kale. He's 40 years old. His lifestyle is X. His wants are this. His opportunities are Y. And now, as I start looking at building this out visually, it's very important to say, what's going to appeal to these people? Bright colors, engaging typography, but I want to be extremely consistent with this. So as we look at the brands, I'm not going to get too far into the creative side because I want to make sure that we have time for questions and other things. And Eric just said, how do you come up with these? I'm trying to get to this chat here. With these personas, what if you are starting and don't have a customer base to survey? I would say search your heart, Eric, because the truth is you started this thing for a reason and you found, businesses are very simple. There's a problem and you solve it, and if there was a problem, Eric will solve it. So that's a Vanilla Ice reference if anybody else doesn't know that. But the idea is I'm solving a need, and maybe you're solving a need because you see it. So maybe you're your first persona. Who else in the world are like me? Who are the people that I was, that's too cold, Jason. Jason likes to have fun. He told me earlier. So the idea is very simple. Start with what your intuition is telling you. Because the truth is, I hate to say it, but when you see something or when you hear something or when you engage with something, your intuition goes off. And if you don't know, maybe you have a significant other. Maybe you have a significant other that is a little bit more in tune with people. I would say in my life, it's my wife. I remember, every hire that I've made in my life, and I'm like, oh, I believe in this person. This is the person that I think this is going to change my business. And every time she says, I don't know about that person, it's come back and tenfold the wrong way because her intuition has been so incredibly in tune. And I'm more of a, I don't know how to say this, just like, maybe I'm running around too fast, maybe I'm too much opportunist, or, I think about all these different things. But the truth is, you need somebody in your life to be very, very intuitive and speak to you truthfully. And if they're getting a feeling about something to listen to, and then back up. So again, as you start looking at influencing conversations, this is where we get into content. Again, Kurt at the Chambers every single time. And Sean, I couldn't agree more. Women know so much more about intuition than us guys. I think we're slightly disabled as a gentleman to say, I wish I had a better a woman's perspective and a woman's intuition throughout this life. And very luckily, I met my wife pretty young, and we've been married for a while. Let me think about this. 2008, 2020, 12 years. And I've been very fortunate to have her by my side, and which is quite honestly the reason why we are where we are. But the idea is, how do you take these pillars, how do you take these personas, and then how do you start creating visual content that's going to make your business, make you look amazing? So I wanted to bring up a couple examples of you guys saw Kale and you saw Clementine, and I wanted to show you how we started to bring these visuals to life to engage in this target demographic. So go Cambrian. Yeah, there's a whole slew of Cambrians out there now. So but the idea is very simple. When I look at a consumer profile and I look at their wants, motivations, and needs, I start thinking, how would that person want to feel when they see an ad, when they engage in my website, when they engage in any conversation with a company? So as we take a step back, you guys can kind of see how we've brought this brand to life. Everything from a website design, app design, photo and video as it pertains to social media. And the truth is, these guys are doing some really cool things, but it's been fun to bring this brand to life because of how much color, how much life, and what might be important and differentiating to them versus some of their competitors. I did want to bring this example in. It's a little wild. So a hotel in Chicago came to us. This is probably 2 years ago now. Gosh, maybe a year and a half. They're called Moxie Hotel. They're a brand that is a Marriott branded hotel. And on the inside of the hotel, the way it was designed, there was basically a courtyard that you would be able to, on the right side of my screen, you could see how these windows you could actually look into from the other side, if that makes sense. So there's a whole nother, this is mirrored on the other side about 15 feet away. So they came to us and they said, hey, what are we going to do to make this engaging? And so we started thinking about their target demographic. Okay, the Moxie Hotel is for, man, how do I say this? Like they're for not the millennial, but the millennial at heart. It's for, they have this heart of a hostel mentality. They're for hipsters, as Courtney says, 100%. And so it doesn't, but you could be a hipster at any age. So it's not so much that, hey, Clementine is 32 years old and we're so, but if their heart is in a very specific place, you want to market to that person. So, we come up with mood boards. We try to figure out how to activate this property, but they had this very unique problem where people were looking into each other's rooms. So how do you take that and from a negative and turn it into something really positive? So what we did was we took these photos and we plastered them up the room here to make it look like there's a constant party going on across the hall. And the idea was very simple. We coined it the inner circle. We gave these people ways to communicate in the room with whiteboards and light boards and the ability to talk. And now we went from this being awkward, I can see into each other's hotel rooms, to how am I going to throw a party? How am I going to engage with the people across the room? And now these room rates are 10, 15% higher than the other rooms. So we went from being a problem to being a more profitable product. And so sometimes you got to look at a challenge and see it as an opportunity and put life into what's going on, because that's what we got to do. I did want to bring this full circle. As we look at Cookie Dough and who she is and what she wants to see, as we bring to life this packaging, what are the things that are going to engage this person? So being that, again, another close, oh, dope. I love that. being that that these people are, I'm trying to think of how to say this, but they're younger, they're maybe more of the whole like Will Smith, Fresh Prince vibe, nostalgia. How do we bring this to life on packaging? And I wanted to kind of show you what this label design turned out like. We gave all these little fun characters that are hopefully not too cheesy, but more, oh, that's kind of cool. I would wear that on a patch on my jacket. I would engage with this character this way or that way. So the idea was to bring these little guys to life so that they could live beyond the packaging. As far as other visuals, this is a kombucha. You know, the idea is, if I'm a kombucha drinker, what's going to motivate me? Well, it's flavor cues, it's an engaging image, it's something that brings life and energy. And if I'm a whiskey drinker, how do I like my whiskey? I like it neat, I like it over ice. But as we start looking at different brands and the things that we work with, the whole idea is to focus on what is Bardstown, what do they care about as far as their pillars and their personas, and then what are their personas? Who do they want to be, and what do they want to engage with? So you can kind of see a few more little visual cues, some more hospitality work, and again, one of the personas of this place is, how do I become an expert fisherman? How do I learn how to create an experience of a lifetime catching a trout, just in a breathtaking scenario, but also with expert guides. So our hope is, as we capture these romantic images or these exciting images, you want to see yourself here. And if you're a targeted consumer here, I want to have s'mores next to the mountains, next to the river, bring everything to life. And this is what we get to do every day. Well, I should say we got to do every day. And now we're working in a studio, but getting into some really fun imagery is all based in who's actually looking at these images and why are they important, and what do we have to do to engage them at a deep level. So in the end, that is all I have for now. However, I am here to answer questions and give you guys any insight that I might be able to help you out with.
Thanks so much, Wade.
You're welcome, Kurt.
You have an energy about you that is great to have, especially this early in the morning at the beginning of this convoy. So we appreciate that. You've done a great job at answering the questions as they've come in to the chat. So I'll leave this moment here. If you have any other questions for Wade, go ahead and type them in real quick. And I'm sure he'll see them there, because you answered everything that I was going to write down. So,
well, you know,
which is fine.
Kurt, you're one of my demographics, one of my personas. So I'm trying to engage with you at a deeper level here, you know?
Well, thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Your team is awesome.
Thank you. I agree. They're a great group of people.
So Wade, let's dive a little bit deeper into the hows of some of this stuff. If you're going to, if maybe you've never heard the idea of personas, or some people call them avatars or whatever, and you want to, all right, I need to do this. So how do you go about, are there like some key things? I mean, you had some slides on there that showed some, but I mean, are there like, here are the 5 characteristics you want to identify for your personas, or anything like that you can elaborate on?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the first thing is, again, you're solving a need, and it's like, who am I solving this need for? Question 1. Question 2, what do they care about? Just like I asked you guys, what do you care about? In the beginning, you said, hey, I care about integrity, which also means that the places you shop probably care about integrity, or at least they're showcasing that message. So it's needs, wants, motivations, and then lifestyle. So where they live, you go on to geographic. So if you're a local business marketing to local people, you're probably not really caring about what people in the Northwest, in Vermont, what they're doing up there. You want to say, hey, I'm in the Valparaiso community. I'm doing X, Y, and Z for this person. So when it comes to things, you just write down those things. Where do they live? What's important to them? What are their needs, wants, and motivations? And to me, like Jenny said, you bring out the old pen and paper and you start writing these down, and then you start figuring out, okay, I really understand who Courtney is to me. And how am I now making sure that my messaging and my visuals and the different things that I have going on are engaging Courtney, not engaging my audience, engaging a very specific person.
Well, I'm a Vanilla Ice fan, you saw, so.
I mean, who isn't? I mean, we don't all get to put on concerts with them, but
yeah,
there's somebody on the call that has, yeah. So
I'd probably be too comfortable and call him Rob.
Keep watching the chat there for me, Kurt. But I'm gonna just kind of throw some questions and kind of keep the conversation going a little bit. If somebody does have a question, though, just interrupt me or wait or whatever. So. But all right, so that gives us some idea of how, as far as some things to look for. What if you're like, you start answering this and it's too broad, right? Like you said before, like for me, small to medium sized business owners, that's too broad. So what are some ways to narrow that down? I mean, you and I have talked a little bit about this, and you are one of my personas, one of my avatars, because of your mindset and your business and all that kind of thing. So what are some ways to narrow that once I've kind of identified, generally speaking, what these people look like? How do you get it down to one person or an idea of one person?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can go after. And I would say the first thing I would say is, well, Wade, if Wade's an ideal client and Wade's a client of Eric's, and Eric is making a difference in Wade's life, Wade probably hangs out with more Wades, right? There, you surround with like-minded people. And so if Wade's a marketer, maybe you start saying, oh, well, I got to help this business owner who's a marketer. Maybe I could help other marketers. Oh, and then as far as for me, when we got into the industry, we were doing video for everybody, doing all sorts of different, and we still do a variety of different industries, but we focus in hospitality, lifestyle, and consumer packaged goods, because we found that we make an impact there. And it wasn't necessarily that I like to have our team involved in cookie dough clients exclusively. It's the fact that we can do a good job with a consumable product. And so as you start evolving your business, as you start creating life around someone's brand, first off, you get excited about it. And secondly, you say, well, who are other people within this industry? So you start saying, hey, I'm a small business guy. Well, maybe I'm really good because I'm an operations guy, I'm a systems guy, I'm a this guy. Maybe I work really good with the creative people, even though it's hard to wrestle them in. Maybe I work really well with these people. And so now I'm starting to say, well, I'm working with creative people, creative leaders, C-suite, CMOs, et cetera, to help them fine tune their systems and processes, because they have all the vision in the world, but sometimes they need help on execution. So start looking at a broad stroke. Hey, I know that I'm going after small business leaders. Okay, great. That's wonderful. Now, what does that look like as far as who I'm actually making an impact? I make an impact on this lane right here. And then you say, oh, there's more people within that lane. And then you're just diving in deeper. It's a time thing, but you also know, I think intuitively, like we talked about, or at least you could talk to Jenny about it and she could tell you what you should be doing. So.
Right.
Yeah. So.
A couple questions in the chat.
Yes. Where do I start here? Okay. So you try to make your ads appeal to all avatars at once, or you target a few at each time. I'm sorry. I already answered. If you already answered, trying to process. Hey, Felicity, it's totally cool. The short answer is, yeah, you do both, And so I hate to be so general, but the idea is, if I create an ad, how does it, if I have 5 different people, I got Sean, Jenny, and Eric are all part of my personas. If I create an ad, am I touching all 3? Yeah, you totally are. But there are going to be specific ads that you're just going after Sean. So the truth is, there's going to be a mixture. For Jenny, to me, I've identified 3 people in the wedding industry. It's brides, vendors, and so vendors, which are strategic partners. So I get to work with Jenny XYZ times a year. And I know that I will send my 30 clients to her, and she'll suggest 30 clients to me. So I know that certain things that I message out are only going to be for Jenny, but certain things are also going to go to just brides. And then the people who influence the bride, which are the parents. So those are people that we look at. But so I don't mean to be so general, but the answer is yes.
No, that's a really good answer. I don't know if I'm supposed to be talking, but anyway, that's a good answer. And it also makes sense with what you said about needing to continuously create content, because then you can talk to these different people at different times. Right. Okay. That's good. Thank you.
But your pillars don't change, right? So you're
right.
Still talking with, with those values at your heart. And if you're creating content, it doesn't matter who you are. If I'm creating content as a wedding vendor and I'm putting out content for the world to see, I'm also speaking to other wedding vendors, even though brides are supposed to see it, but they're going to see personality, they're going to see values, they're going to see what we stand for.
Yeah, that's good.
So if that makes sense.
It does.
And Jenny says, if you have, or if you have different personas, brides are different than vendors in my collective, and I'm trying to gather both. So if I have different marketing for different audiences, ? How do you do that without appearing inconsistent or too broad? Well, the truth is, it's very simple. I think the quality of your work speaks for yourself. And I think that good talent attracts good people. And so it's kind of like horse breeding, right? So the ability is, if I have a collective of really amazing vendors as part of what I have going on, that's going to do marketing in itself. But I wouldn't change what you stand for. I want to make an impact on brides. I want to make their lives easier. I want to take what is I would say generally considered one of the most stressful times of their life and make it the most joyful. And all I have to do is say, this is what I do. And if you're a vendor like that, you're in alignment with me. And this is what I do. If you're a bride that wants less stress, more joy, this, that, you're going to be in alignment with me. So as you create things, yeah, you don't want to have, I guess you can do this, but the idea is like your content needs to be focused in your pillars, and that's going to give you your broad strokes. But then from vendor to vendor, I think people care about the same things you care about, and being a bride or a vendor in that situation, if that makes sense. And then Sean says, maybe talk about 2070 when after a higher end bride and not the budget bride uses the descriptors cheap and inexpensive or asks for discounts. So the truth is, so my other company is 27 Entertainment, and I wouldn't say that we only go after high-end brides. We go after brides that want to have fun, that want a different experience, and don't fall in alignment with a typical event experience. And so the idea is very simple. It's not that I don't go and say, hey, I'm going after a high-end bride. I say, these are our prices. This is what I'm excited about. This is the energy that you're going to get from us from day one to post-wedding. And it's not so much about not going after the budget bride. It's, if the budget bride cares about the things I care about, they're going to find a way to pay for it, if that makes sense.
I think that's absolutely key. I mean, one of the things I talk about is that people do not, despite what everybody tells you, people buy people from people, but they buy the people they like and know and respect and trust. Yep. They buy emotional experience. It's not about the product or service necessarily, although that's a component, and it is not about the price. People, they will spend the money if they value the product and the experience. I'm sorry, the experience. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand. So if you're selling that experience, then the price becomes secondary.
You're right, Eric. I mean, like, you could say you're selling it, but you could just say, like, this is what I believe in. This is what I believe in. And like, if your belief doesn't align with mine, totally fine. Like, I think that's where I think a lot of people end up. You're trying to do it in the most humble way possible, saying, listen, this is who I am. This is what I do. And I, if the truth be told, if you, when it was the wedding industry and I was specifically involved in that, I was like, hey, I love you and I want to be part of your wedding, but I only want to be as much as part of it as you want me to be, you know? And the truth is at a certain level, it's not about quantity, it's about quality. And that was what I chose to scale our business around. The key difference between speaking to people and speaking with them. Do you truly understand your customer? What are their needs, wants, problems to solve jobs? Jason, I don't know if you want to turn your microphone on and kind of explain your question. I don't know if I'm following.
Oh, yeah. Hey, morning, Wade. By the way, great job. No, I guess I was just reacting to your last comments. That was not a question specifically.
I just saw a question mark and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah. Yeah, no, because I think, you know, especially in that high-end bride, right? I mean, you're selling that, you even mentioned, right? I mean, the greatest day of their life. And, you know, one example that really stands out to me, I've had the fortune of working close with some of the innovation teams at Delta Faucet in the Indy area over the years. And, you know, when they went into showers and developed some really high-end showers, really raising the price point higher than it had ever been for their company, right? After a lot of research, they discovered, look, they're not selling showers, not plumbing. It's, you know, you're selling the chance for someone to wash the day off themselves at the end of the day. And a lot of that user research, you know, really does feed into that.
And that's what's so great about, you know, being, that's an innovation, right? That's no longer a service, but you're responding to the consumer. The consumer is having stress. What they got in their mindset. Oh man, at the end of the day, I just need to like get in the shower and like just rinse the negativity off, right? So they got in that mindset of the consumer. It's the same thing that Apple has done and all these other great companies. I'm really specifically very, I don't know, like I get giddy around those kind of like, you did what? This is amazing. Okay, cool. And then you start thinking about that, but it's all around what that consumer wants and all around the consumer or what they believe they want, right? Is it possible that they can't afford to use the product? For me, couldn't afford to not have a business coach, even though the funds were not in the budget. Yeah, totally, Courtney. And I think that's also a statement and like, I love the interaction here, but I couldn't agree more. Sometimes you have to like, it's called sacrifice, right? You know, and if you don't do X, then Y will happen. And life is a series of consequences, both positive and negative. And I couldn't agree more.
So Wade, a couple of things you've talked about. One of the things I want to kind of go back to the beginning, you talked about speaking with your audience instead of to them. How do you ensure that conversation, because I'm assuming there's a two-way component to that, yep. How do you ensure that conversation is coming back? And in other words, is it just through, well, they purchased, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, I think it's a multitude of things. It's a constant evaluation of self. And what I mean by that is you need people in your life to hold you accountable. So the minute you start caring more about yourself, the minute you start caring more about your product than the actual person using it, all of a sudden you're going backwards. And sometimes we get caught up in like, look how great this is. Look how exciting, look how good I am at X, Y, and Z. Instead of saying, hey, Eric, my client, how am I making an impact for you today? How am I engaging you? And so it's not so much about the ability to say, we're having a conversation. It's ability to actually have a servant heart and at mind. What am I doing to be on this journey with you and not just telling you what to do constantly? Of course, my expertise is going to lean me one way and it's going to help you, guide you, etc. But it's, you know, in high school, I had a coach that would run with us because he was faster. He was, he made us keep pace. He did all these different things. And so that was running with us, even though he had nothing to gain other than, you know, maybe just kept them in shape. I'm not sure. But the idea is who's gonna speak that honesty into your life? Because what's gonna happen is your clients are just gonna start dropping. You're gonna be like, but my service is awesome. So you didn't listen to the honesty throughout and the transparency throughout the accountability partners that you need in your life.
Yeah. Hey, Wade, a quick follow-up to that then, especially in your work, you're right. I mean, weddings and events and video production. I mean, yes, listen to the customer and really match their needs. But it's probably fair to say that there's times where, basically, the customer's wrong. Maybe it's they want a certain setup and the lighting's not going to work or whatever. I mean, talk through that a bit about how you balance that.
Well, I think it's, in the end, it goes both ways. You don't, just as if I'm going to speak with you, you got to speak with me, not to me. Right. And so, but there's got to be some honest conversations sometimes where, we've been told to dumb down the quality of our video because their audience doesn't want this to be perceived as too expensive. So you're like, you got to listen to why they want lighting to be different, or why they want X, their brand or their website to represent X. And you gotta, so I think it's like, what do they say? God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth so you can listen twice as much as you speak, right? So the ability to engage with your clients as far as maybe they think something's right, it's a conversation. Well, if we were to let you this way, this is how we want you to feel, how we want people to perceive you. However, if you are looking for a different perception, why don't you tell me why?
Well, thanks.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, that's good. So talking about feedback too, because this is kind of our topic. What are yes, you talked about, you're okay. So you go off your intuition, right? You're starting new, or this is a new concept for you. So you're like, all right, I don't know. I think this is my personas, or you talk to people around you. But how do you know if you're right? What if you're missing the boat on your personas? What if you've identified them incorrectly? How do you know that, and what do you do about it?
I think there's a few things. I think your business suffers if you don't have the right personas, if you're not if you're not talking to the right people. I mean, just for me, if I'm marketing hey, I'm a luxury hotel photo and video guy, this is what I do. And so that'll alienate maybe the small business guy that I'm working with here in Valparaiso. So as you develop your messaging, as you develop your personas, it's a keen self-awareness of how you're being, how your messaging is being presented. And so to me, your question is, how do I know if it's right? It's like, people are buying what you're selling. I mean, and you're scaling. And if not, if you're having trouble, then it's like, how do I fine tune this audience to find the right people who actually want to listen to what I have to say?
Okay, and that's great, but that also takes time, right? Oh, yeah. So all right, I identify personas, and how long? Like, how long do I persist before I reevaluate? Or I mean,
forever, my friend, literally forever. Like the minute you stop talking and listening and identifying it with your clients, with your consumers, is the minute you stop scaling. And so like, I think people look at brands and like, this is my gospel. This is the Bible to me. I'm not going to change a thing about what I am. But the truth is, you have to take a step back and constantly grow and evolve. Like, if I was to teach my 7-year-old values the way I taught her when she was 3, that's a different story. When she becomes a teenager, I'm also going to be teaching her different ways of life than when she was 3, right? So the truth is, as much as I wish, you could just like, hey, this is my persona and I'm out. Like, generally that could work, but you have to evolve and grow with these people and make sure that you're constantly evaluating, so that, I wish it was an overnight thing, but I think that's like going to the gym one time and expecting to walk out with ripped abs. It's just like, as much as I wish that would happen, it won't, So it's a constant awareness of and engagement with the people who want to partake in your service.
See if anybody else have any questions I can think of.
I think there's been some great conversation today. Thank you to everybody who's participated. And Wade, thank you for presenting. Eric, thank you for putting this together. And Tom, thank you for sponsoring the event with the Ingenuity Small Business Collaborative. I think that's going to wrap it up for today. We will please join us again on Wednesday at 7 a.m. Central Time for our next featured speaker. I hope you all have a great week, and this was a great way to start it. Thanks for joining us today. Have a good one.